Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to another episode of Virgin Stars Podcast 4th season. My loyal listeners, thank you for continued support. Enjoy this amazing interview because David Sancious returns to the mothership to talk his new album, The Ghost of Jim Crow. Now, come aboard as we go traversing the stars. Hello, Mr. Sancious. Thank you for coming to the Virgin Stars Podcast. Again, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Nice to be with you again.
It's totally my pleasure. It was such a great time talking to you the last time, and now we're talking about a new album. So what I'm wondering is, you've been making
Uh,
music, I believe, for about 60 years. What has
somewhere,
that, huh?
somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah. So what has that experience taught you about the creative process of music, and then what keeps you making more music after all this time? It's kind of like you beat the game already, but yet you're still continuing. So what drives you?
I heard someone else say this in relation to like, why are you doing it at this point? And the point is, oh, I know what it was. I was listening to the radio the other day, and it was an interview with the composer Steve Reich. If you're familiar with him, he's a brilliant, works in minimalism, but anything. He's composer in residence somewhere, I think maybe in on the islands here. Anyway, the interviewer asked him the same question. He said, what are you? He's got this monumental body of work. And she said, so what keeps you going? Why do you want to keep doing it? And his answer was twofold. One was, I love doing it. There's nothing else I enjoy more than doing that, than composing, than playing music, than getting better at an instrument, going deeper into it. That was the first answer. And the second answer he said was, why are you doing it? And this is, I feel identical on both counts, because your creation, whether it's a song or a painting or a book or whatever, anything creative, in reference to him musically, he said, that music will have a life far beyond his own. So when he's dead and gone, that music exists. It exists and is there for anyone and everyone who find themselves attracted to and interested in it to enjoy to the fullest. It's like it's going to be fresh for people. When both of us are dead, I feel the same way. I mean, we work in different areas of music, but even that's not all that accurate. But I feel the same way. All the albums that I've been a part of, and my own compositions, they will be there. They will definitely exist beyond my physical existence, and there's tremendous value in that. I mean, where did we come from musically? If all this wasn't happening, how did it end up that a young black kid from the Jersey Shore was influenced by Beethoven or Mozart or Chopin or all more people than you can name? So that's the beauty of it. I mean, and it's not that at this point I'm not saying like, everything is, fine and dandy in my life and I don't care what happens. I care very much what goes on in my life and in our society. Uh, but that's the thing. It's like, first of all, the joy of doing it itself. Never had more fun. Never had more fun than being totally immersed in music. And I really do believe in the value of it beyond the individual life of the creator of it.
Now would obviously someone at your level of in the world of music,
Mhm.
what you do create, as you mentioned, will last forever. People will be listening to it years, decades, well beyond that. Is that
Mhm.
a heavy weight to carry to know that whatever music you're making, especially like I said with the new album, this carries the weight of, I don't know, eternity on some level. This is gonna go on. People will be listening to this potentially
It
forever.
doesn't carry no, it doesn't carry any weight at all in that sense as a concept. That's too mental, and all this creation, the energy of creation, and I think whether you're a sculptor or whether you are a musician with an instrument in your hands, it it so transcends mentality. That's just too for me to actually sit here and think every day or every time I touch an instrument that, oh, I'd really better get this right because it's going to have this thing forever. It's that's this sort of not even uh, it's not even in the process. It's just too much mind and not enough. It just doesn't come that way. It doesn't come from thinking about what's going to happen in the future or thinking about what effect I'm going to have in the future It doesn't come from that. It doesn't come from worrying about it or having an exaggerated sense of the weight that it might have in anyone's life. The whole thing comes from an extreme amount of openness and willingness to be yourself an instrument.
When
It's
you're
'cause go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like I said, when, for instance, when you're starting your new album, The Ghost of Jim Crow, when you're
Yeah.
starting on that journey of writing a new album,
Mhm.
are you thinking just these are, is this inspiration, these are my ideas, I'm writing them down? Are you thinking, where do I want to take my own journey going forward? Or, I mean, is there an area I want to grow in and this is the direction I'm taking it? What are the first steps in the journey and when you're beginning to conceptualize wanting to create?
Well, there's a lot of intention, especially I mean, with every album I do, whether it's an instrumental album, whether it's what people would call fusion music, or whether it's people call popular music, whether there's songs with vocals or whatever. Um, I just there is an intention. There is an intent. Say, for instance, all the music on the previous album, Eyes Wide Open, all those songs, all the vocal songs, especially in the terms of like a message to people in English. There is an intention to. I mean to make a comment about the state of our society and about the state of not just our politics certainly, but the state of the world society in mass. Because we're all just every nation is almost like it's like a variation on a theme. You know, every country, I mean, America, France, England, Germany, Europe, everything, we all basically function in an almost identical way, and we have almost identical concerns about, what are we bothered about? What's hard for people? It's the same all over the world. The only thing that's different is the language and the clothes we wear and our climates. That's it. Otherwise, you're looking at a representation of yourself. If you're looking at when you're looking at someone in another country, and you read about what they're going through, um, environmentally, there seems to be no place on this planet that has been exempt from extreme weather. Now, whether everyone wants to put that up to 100%, excuse me, global warming, maybe so, maybe not. There's a lot of theories about it, but what there isn't a theory about is the reality of it. Okay, every corner of this planet has had the devastating effects of a climate situation that they could not control. And then that's a whole other social dynamic that leads us into, excuse me, a whole other area of compassion.
So I think the interesting, once again, and I do love the name The Ghost of Jim Crow. And obviously, there's a whole lot of historical weight of history that goes behind that. When you're thinking about the approaching the album Ghost of Jim Crow, is this a look back of what has happened, or is this a look forward of this is where we now need to go because of it?
No, it's not a look back at it's a tiny look back at what happened, only in the sake of education, so you understand what I'm singing about. But what it is, it's a rebuke of the energy itself. That's what it is. It's like a very strong rebuke of the energy that is the mentality of Jim Crow, that is willing to minimize people and to unduly put upon people. Um, that's the least of it. But no, my intention, and it comes out as everything's unfolding. So probably it works differently for me sometimes. Sometimes I get the music first, or part of the music, and then I'll sit down and put words to it. Sometimes the words come first. It might be like a sentence, maybe the first line of the first verse or something, or it might be the chorus or something, and then I'll figure it out that way. But in the process of it, whichever comes first, uh, it sort of tells you, it sort of informs you as to exactly how intense you want the message to be, and exactly what wordage you want to use. I'm not interested in being politically correct in my language, and if you listen to the lyrics of any song on Eyes Wide Open. I'm not interested in being, um, how could I say, gentle about the message. I'm interested in the intensity of it and the sincerity of it. On those songs, like on the title track, Eyes Wide Open, on Urban Psalm, um, and we've brought in Dr. King for a moment on Urban Psalm. Uh, but it's the uncompromising language that I will use, lyrically when I actually, get done with it. And so I'm really sure that I'm saying what I mean to say and with the kind of energy that I mean to get across, because again, if this is nothing if not a strong rebuke against all of that whole mentality of,
Now,
gen-
would you say that this is your most political based album that you've created?
I'm going to say, well, this is a continuation of Eyes Wide Open. I'm going to say that Eyes Wide Open, until this thing is finished and whatever else I do next. Um, Eyes Wide Open is a sort of a collection of things that's a half and half album. Half of the album is vocal and the other half's instrumental. But again, all of those vocal songs are intentionally about societal issues and my take and my feeling of what I want to say to people about it.
Oh, because like I said, it's very interesting because obviously, for anyone who's aware of the news, we are hitting, I think, one of the most com confrontational, maybe politically confrontational moment in our history,
Mhm.
for reason, well, for due to since the presidential election. Um, did you? Is the attempt to in your album to kind of like wake up those who are like-minded, or is it to try to change the minds of those who are unlike you and how they think, act, feel, or at this moment?
That's an interesting question. And firstly, I would say I don't know how much my expressions artistically are going to reach the minds of people who are on the polar opposite of
Hmm.
me. You know what I mean? I don't know how
Hmm.
much MAGA listens to me or any outlet that I might be on.
Yeah.
I consider that the opposite mentality. So when I write these things, I'm writing it for anyone. Should someone of an opposite mentality be moved by it, so much the better. So I'm not doing it. I'm doing it for everyone, and who hears it, hears it. Whoever comes to it, comes to it. But no, it's not like I'm not really directing it at any specific. Yeah, and I know what you mean. It's kind of like, well, are you just preaching to the choir, or do you think that somehow your message, which is very much against the other side, is
Hmm.
going to be reached and not only reach but persuade someone to change their
Yeah.
politics. Um, and again, I don't know. I don't know about that. That's an area that I have, I'm going to say, very little control over.
Hmm.
And actually, I'm interested in it. I'd be interested to know how much or where that might reach someone. Maybe it happens somewhere, but in terms of reaching people who already are, say, on my side of the energy spectrum,
Hmm.
I think that's important for people to hear as well, because it's sort of like I'm not outright convincing someone to vote differently, but I am reaching someone's heart and mind who is on a similar vibrational wave of me. Otherwise, they wouldn't be listening or interested,
Hmm.
and that has value too. It has value too. It's like good food, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, Even though you may have eaten that meal before, well, here it is today, and let's see maybe how much that helped you when you're when
I agree because part of me I'm thinking to I mean obviously within 2 to 4 years we have to get out of the mess we're in. And there's a thought to me that if you may not be able to convince the other side of anything, and you can't, and obviously those who are on your side are on your side. It's those people
yeah.
who aren't moved to act that you need to now convince to start acting.
There you
That's
go.
the difference
There you
maker
go.
of the next election.
That's really something, and I think probably if it's moving anyone, it's going to reach those folks first. just in a sort of gravitational way. Yeah,
Mm.
because there's too many people who did not act. They did not
Right.
use their constitutional power to make a difference. I had some really, really disappointing conversations with some young people, man, in
Mm.
town, um, about political stuff at one of my favorite restaurants. There's a sports bar in town I like to go to for lunch sometimes. And man, I've had both sides of the spectrum. I had very resonant conversations with people, uh, people my age and younger. I'm a baby boomer. You know, I'm 71 now, and I have conversations with people who are in their 40s and 50s and younger. But man, some of the I don't know, some of the lack of accurate information
Yep.
that this Generation X and Z, whatever letter we're up to with them, it's stunning. It's stunning, and it's not. And again, I think really, if one wanted to somehow purposefully focus on a situation, a generation, I think that would be a way to go. And again, I think it's probably happening on some level, but there needs to be a whole radical re-education,
Mm.
or I don't want to call it a re-education. Just have a factual, fact-based, time-based education about what has gone on in this world, not just in our country, but people are just woefully ignorant, and then they're going around making decisions based on their woeful ignorance.
Right.
And equation: Donald Trump becomes president of the United States.
I agree
The
completely.
Trump administration. Well, they told more what they were amazing for was how the amount of let's just call it a lie. A lie is a lie. I'm sorry. Of unfactual, just made up nonsense about everything you could speak about immigration, about Social Security, about economics, and they continue this day to try and sell to their populace that a tariff is going to make them money. A
Yep.
tariff is a tax, economic, but they every day the press secretary will get on the airwaves and say just the opposite thing. And the people who don't have an education about economics to any degree, I'm not well versed in economics, but I know that much about it. I know, what it actually is and how it actually affects people. So I think, and what is he? One of the many things he's trying to undo is the Department of, wait for it, Education.
Yep.
You
I'm
know,
a teacher, special ed teacher. This impacts me
wow.
directly.
Okay.
Completely.
No, it's my mother was a school teacher. She devoted her whole life from the age of 19 until she retired to teaching. And one of the that was one of the benefits, really. I think one of the reasons that if you see or hear anything really good of certain quality coming out of me, it's largely because of the education I had at home, because I
Mm.
was raised by an educator, you
Mm.
know, and we had access to information. We had our own library in the house, and I'm the youngest of three boys, and I was able to read books far beyond my so-called grade level at that time, and I enjoyed that, and that had a whole very positive effect on me intellectually, and which just carried through um, into the fabric of my life. But
Mm.
I just think it's we're at a super challenging time in our and holding on to this democracy and seeing um, who's going to stand up for um, what we've always, I'm sure you and I grew up with as the values of this country. It's never been perfect. My God, it got founded in the worst way possible.
Right.
But somewhere on there, here comes these bunch of guys, we call them founding fathers, with this idea that because they saw, look, this is unsustainable. We can't
Mm.
do this. Slavery ain't going to work. But we can't keep stealing and taking all the land from the indigenous people and moving them up. So anyway, we got to do something different. And uh, again, far from perfect, but look at all the progress we've made from socially, from slavery times to now. and into the 50s and the whole civil rights movement, everything, tremendous progress. And I think it's progress that, even though Donald Trump and his crew have some really, really different version of America, and they're doing everything they can to sort of return it to that. The progress that we've made societally is too deep. It's too deep and it's too solid to be rolled back. It's too ingrained in our society to be completely wiped off because he and his pals are in power for a temporary amount of time, and they're doing damage. I'm not going to minimize the damage, but a lot of the damage they're doing is being pretty much not instantly but quickly undone and challenged. It's being challenged right away, and it's by degrees being undone. But I really believe that at the end of this challenging time, I think it's like this. I can say it simply: dealing with the political situation that we have now, and let's say that let's take it outside of the scope of America. Let's say it's worldwide.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're going to be sicker than we've ever been before. But the purpose of being that sick and then getting over that sickness is that you will never be that sick again. You won't be able to. You will have a different kind of strength that you never had before. So we get over this, and it's going to be not easy, but I firmly believe that the positive qualities of our society and there's more than enough people of goodwill and the proper energy to correct things. I think it's going to happen. We're a ways from it, but every day is a fight. Every day is a struggle. And now, as far as us, it's a struggle in the courts. And you're seeing that every day our court system is being challenged. But here
You
we
know,
are.
I would like to be optimistic enough to believe we can recover from this hopefully soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think the answer is when we look at who voted in 2020, the number of people, and the who voted in 2024, there's about 2 or 3 million should be Democrats or liberals who did not participate this time.
Right.
That is to me the answer is get those 2 to 3 million people to get off their ass,
That's
try
it.
participating this time, and
That's
obviously
it.
vote where you're progressive or liberal.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is how to get them off their ass
Mm-hmm.
and what can possibly motivate people who apparently have gone apathetic over the last 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, I think part of that is artistic expression by different people. Whether you're a musician or an author. I think anyone creative in any way possible, any expression of creativity is a positive stroke in that. And in terms of helping to wake people up and remotivate them and get them out of this sense of apathy that what they do doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
matters tremendously, as we just see the results of them not taking action have really put us in a very precarious situation.
Now, there was something I had heard where it's a thought where debating someone on the other side just causes them to dig in a little deeper. Do you think music can hit them in a way where a debate, a direct verbal, I don't want to say confrontation, but verbal um, battle or will can't? Say does music have the power to do that where a debate can't, will make it work?
I think so. On a certain level, it depends on the music, depends on the expression, but yes, I believe that maybe kind of in a good way. I feel two-sided about this. Maybe a good example of that was Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl presentation. You know, in the terms of how it really, that was a very effective use of, it's a piece of music. And he said a lot about a few people. It wasn't just, his beef with Drake, which I think personally, I think it's like beneath both of them in a way. That's gone on for so long. But anyway, it is what it is. But Kendrick has his points to make, and he made it. And I thought it was especially ironic that Donald Trump had to sit through Kendrick Lamar live. Come on, man. It was deep. That must have ate him up from the inside out, man.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, I do think that there's certain music and certain musicians can can have a dramatic effect with the right song at the right moment. You know.
Now,
Yeah.
I think now a song on your album that is has a lot to say, politically, socially charged is why must it be so, which is a
Right.
great piece of music. The interesting quality too, there's almost a spoken word, almost slam poetry aspect to the presentation of the sound. Is that was
Right.
that what you were going for?
Yeah, I wanted to mix genres like that. I didn't want it to be a completely melodically sung, song all the way through. And the words of the verse, I did feel like they have more impact spoken than sung, you know. And then the chorus comes in really strong. It's nice, but yeah, definitely. You know
And
who used to do not quite the same thing as we're talking about, but I really and one of the ways that I started using audio collages in front of the songs, in front of like the songs on Eyes Wide Open, and in front of the songs on Jim Crow. Uh, I really like the way that Frank Zappa used to combine media like that.
mm,
Like Zappa's concert would be like some of it's spoken, a lot is spoken, and then some of it's sung. And on stage, his thing was like, it just became, well, here's a bunch of really badass musicians who can play this music that he's writing. And
yeah,
but also it's like theater. It's like fucking like a show. It's like you're watching all these things going on. You know, he was, again, just I really appreciated him as an artist. And again, like Hendrix and other people, just gone way too soon. You know,
mm,
but yeah, I do that on purpose. You know, the combination of real life collage of snippets taken from the internet about what the song is going to be about. The song kicks in, and then the song is a song, and I always end with a similar kind of thing. In the way that "Why Must It Be So" ends. Unfortunately, it ends with on one of the chants from the DNC, rallies. We're not going back, and it didn't work out like that. But all of that is not lost, and I think, in fact, all that energy that we felt, and the people who were rooting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and just rooting for a fresh of breath of air and a real move towards let's really get something done and change it. So unfortunately, it didn't work out for us. But I think that energy that was expressed in those rallies and in the voices of those people, it's more relevant than ever, and we need it more than ever now. It's
mm.
not like, oh, too bad we lost. Let's all just go home and think about something else. No, more than ever, we need to be committed to that, committed to what we feel and why we feel that way. We know that we're energetically on the right side, of what is good and light and helpful to people.
Mm.
But it's you know more than ever to not forget that. So it's not wasted. Let's say that it's not wasted at all.
And I think the video that you create for it is fascinating. Once again, you show the images of society, moments from history, and then you pause every so often for an image of yourself with the words on there, and you basically looking basically disappointed, as if judging us of where we are at that moment, and from those moments in time. Um,
Yeah.
is why must it be so ultimately you think optimistic of what we can eventually turn into, or is it a rebuke completely of how much we messed things up over the last let's say few months, as it were, or further than that too? I mean, there's obviously things that happened that we screwed up on.
No, it's not a total rebuke. If anything, it's like sort of it's a question at the end of the day.
Hmm.
And so if you're asking the question, it's to get you to think about it, to really consider it, listen to the juxtaposition of what's going on lyrically, and then just think, yeah, why must it be so? It doesn't have to be. Bruce always said, he said something really interesting. Bruce Springsteen, when he was working for the DNC and some of their rallies and making comments, that whole lead into pre-election, and he made a comment about how how divided the country is, of course, and all that, and how we're left and right. But he said, it doesn't have to be this way. It is this way right now. It is. Let's recognize that it is, but it does not have to be this way. And that's our choice as people. That's the thing inside. You got to go inside yourself and decide to be correct, energetically, spiritually. And I mean spiritually, not just religion. I don't mean Christians, Jews, Muslims. I don't mean that. I mean spirit, the spirit of living together with another human being, other human beings, and honoring the fact that they are. At the end of the day, they're just like you. That's you with a different complexion, a different accent, a different bank account, but you better believe that's you, you
Hmm.
know? All these other so-called people that you don't feel connected to.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. You mentioned like Bruce Springsteen because Bruce Springsteen is one of those an artist where both sides seem to have claimed his music as like they're like speaking to them. It's like like
Yeah,
I think because was it I think it was Born in the USA was played at some Trump rallies in the 2016 run that he had, and I'm like, well, and they're like,
yeah,
well, he's not speaking against you guys, but at the same time, everyone both sides claimed as if
yeah. I was just saying about the people appropriating Bruce's music, especially when the Trump team played that. He shut that down super quick. He was
yeah.
most unhappy and super clear and made sure that I do not resonate with that shit.
Yeah, I think there's interesting as we talk about the power of music, how people can turn any idea and make it seem like it's speaking to them when it's definitely not.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, is there, you think, a world where why must it be so? The other side be thinking, yeah, why must it be so? And thinking it from terms of themselves, as if it's, you know what I'm saying? If you know what I'm talking about,
Mhm.
how both sides feel like they're the ones who are like, how can the world be so crazy? That kind of thing. I mean, do you think ever there's a world where they look at that same song and go, you think it's talking to them and their
I
concerns?
I think it could. There's parts of it that they could resonate with. um, I mean, there's Democrats who could resonate with the lyric of I think it's in the I don't know the first verse is somewhere, but it goes they broke his legs. Now they say he walks funny.
Hmm.
That's a poetic way of saying an old Southern thing that I heard that they used to say they cripple you, then they criticize the way you walk. You know, I just couch it a little bit differently. There's a lot of people who can relate to that on both sides of the political spectrum economically. There's people who were consider themselves conservatives and or in hard right MAGA who voted for Donald Trump. And there's Democrats who would never in their wildest dreams have voted for Donald Trump because they have a whole thing. But they can both suffer from the negative effects of his policies. You know, I mean, anyone can. A lot of people could relate to one more baby, resonate with it. They could appreciate it. So
Hmm.
anyone raising a family can appreciate, relate to the fact of like, well, my family's growing, but my wages aren't. I'm stuck in this. The minimum wage is freezing, and everything's costing more. Anyone can relate to that, whether you voted Democratic or Republican or hard-wing MAGA, whatever you are. So there is relation there. It's just like, a person taking the time to listen and just be open. And the thing about it, when that comes to you, when you realize that you're listening to something that's making sense to you that maybe you never heard before, whether it's a song or something, there are moments like that where you're just like, wow, fuck, I never thought of that before.
Hmm.
And it just suddenly is like, yeah, wow, he's right or she's right, whatever they just said is making perfect sense to them. Then after that moment of things making perfect sense, then a person is left to take action on their own. you know
Now, along with the Ghost of Jim Crow, you're obviously you're going on a new tour. So far, your
yes,
initial dates, 10 dates, are mostly Northeast. I think Pennsylvania as well, but mostly Northeast. Um,
yes.
so, is there a reason you're starting there, and are you going to then expand out to the rest of the country?
Well, reason we're starting there is because that's where we're most sort of popular. That's where we're from, the East Coast situation. We do have requests to play in other parts of the country. We've gotten requests to play in the in the Midwest, Phoenix, Arizona, and even in parts of Europe. But that project that we're going to do now, we won't be playing music from the Ghost of Jim Crow. We're going to be playing music from this project called Open Secret,
Okay.
which is myself and do you have material on that? Did they the publicists in
It's Will Calhoun, right? Calhoun.
That's exactly right. That's it.
Yeah.
Will Calhoun and myself. So that's our duo. We started it a couple years ago, and it's called Open Secret. And so we're going to be playing music from that project. So we won't be doing stuff from the Ghost of Jim Crow or Eyes Wide Open.
Okay.
However, we actually our last tour we did do one of the songs from Eyes Wide Open. We did a song called In the Middle of the Night. So we might do that one. But this particular project with Will, I think we have 7 shows or something. It's going to be music that we started writing. I think it was 2018 when we put it together, and we record. Every time we do play together, we record it really, really well with our chief engineer Rob Fraza, who does all the engineering on my albums. Um, and we're gonna do again. We'll do the same thing with this project. Starts on May the 1st, and we're gonna record it all. And I think between a combination of what we get live this time, and I think when the tour's over, we plan to go into the studio before I fly back home to Hawaii, and do some more stuff. And I think possibly towards the end of this year, 2025, or early next year, we're going to put out a whole complete situation. But it's a brilliant project because it's not just me writing; it's Will and I. We compose all this music together, and some of it is written. Some of it are like songs that Will wrote completely on himself, and then I'll learn it and improvise on it. Some are pieces that I wrote completely, and he'll do the same. But largely, it's music that we are sort of creating in real time. We're sort of improvising, and Will not only is a great drummer and percussionist, but he's very into electronic music. Has been for many, many years. He's brilliant at it. So the two of us improvising in real time together, we come up with these pieces of music. To me, it sounds like film music. It's quite it's interesting, and it's interesting to see two people do that live right in front of you. Did they send you? There's a tease version of. I think we have 2 songs from Open Secret. Did you
Um,
get those
I had
from
one.
the?
The three pieces I had one from Why Must Be So. I have a part from some. Give me 1 second. I think I can see which ones I have. Um, Big Beat
Is
Keys and The
that's
Vest.
it? Yeah, yeah. Those 2 songs are Open Secret music. So and I think they probably. I'm sure they sent you just the tease versions, the short
Yeah,
music examples of it.
yeah.
So yeah. Have you checked it out? You had to listen?
Oh, I definitely checked out. I will say, Big Beat. Like I said,
Yeah.
the is brilliant. I love the opening drums. You did a, it's just a great sound combined. And towards the end, you
Yeah.
do. I feel like at the end you get towards the electronica part of the tease as well, which
Yeah, it actually fades out around the middle of the whole song,
yeah.
you know.
I have about, I
So
think it's about a minute and a half of the song.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
But
it sounds fantastic. And also, when if you do want to, I would love to have you and Mr. Calhoun talk directly on Open Secret together.
hmm, yeah,
I think it'd be a fun interview.
yeah, we could work that out sometime, definitely.
That'd be very
Will's li-
cool.
he's in New York area, and I'm here. The tour starts on the 1st of May, so I'm actually gonna fly to. We're gonna rehearse in New Jersey. I'm gonna fly there like the last week of April, and we'll get started, and we're gonna do some more publicity stuff, some photos together, and maybe some little video clips and stuff. So, but it's going to be great. We're looking forward to it. We don't get to do it as much as we would both like to because Will is very busy on his own, and he's very busy with the band Living Color. So whenever we can sort of carve out some time to do it, we have. But it's a great project. It's really
Is it?
unique.
It's kind of interesting because you have once again two passion projects happening at the same time. You have your own solo, and then you said
Mhm.
you had Open Secret. Is it tough to put one of it aside in any given moment and do the other one, or like is there a temptation to be like at any given moment or tour be like talk about let's play. I want to play my music as well from from Ghost of Jim Crow while I'm doing this other thing at the same time.
Well, we kind of, like I said, we do incorporate on the last tour we did incorporate, I think, was it one or two songs? Um, One song from Eyes Wide Open, and that went down really well. So it's not fixed, you know. If it's between Will and I, it's a 50-50 partnership. So everything that happens, you know, on stage, the set list, any rehearsals, that's all we just mutually agree upon that. So we can at any time just adopt, say, okay, well, we're just going to add such and such a song to the set list. It's not something we're improvising, but we're just going to add it. We'll come up with a cool arrangement and play it, you know. Again, it's very open like that. It's not stiff. It's not stuck, you know. And we can I mean on a dime. Sometimes this music comes through and it'll sound like there's like four people on stage and it's the two of us, you know. It's just how we have figured out how to electronically present this thing between the combination of drums, electronics, my synthesizer, guitar and stuff. It's really it's dead interesting and it's a lot of fun. So we sort of set it up as we like it, you know, on the night. We don't even do always the same identical set list, you know. Every night we're able to do things very differently, you know, keeping it fresh, you know.
Do you find that creativity tends to flow with new ideas as you guys are performing live with each other?
Instantly. I could, if I at some point I could point out a part of the tape. If we were listening to the complete song, which is quite long, it's like 7 or 8, you know, 9 minutes or something, I could point to exactly that, to where suddenly, without a conversation or a rehearsal, we're suddenly somewhere else. He did this thing where he just suddenly went into a completely different rhythmic groove than we had started with. And it was, we're at a section in the song where, okay, we played the beginning of the song, the head, as we call it. Now, boom, wide open, a sea of improvisation. And at some point we go like, okay, let's return to the head and we're gonna end the song. And within all that sea of possibilities, he just totally went to some groove that had nothing to do with everything that came before it. And I instantly just pounced on it and we were doing it together. There's a lot of laughing on stage. There's a lot of smiles and a lot of recognition of like, you know, I hear you, or it's like, yeah, you hear me. So yeah, and then we did that, and then on a dime again, we flipped around and went back to the original, you know, groove of the tune and ended it, you know. So
Oh, that's
yes,
awesome.
creativity. It's crazy. It's crazy wildlife. That's one of the things that's so excited about it because it is so very open, and the creativity can just like it's just in the air. It's in the air. You know, and you don't. There's not a lot of thinking. It's not like hand signals and thinking and like, oh, remember we said we were gonna. No, it's like none of that. You know. So it's great.
That's absolutely awesome. I would love, if you ever hopefully come to the Rhode Island, Massachusetts area, which would be awesome.
Yeah.
So I know like your tour starts beginning of May. The Ghost of Jim Crow gets released when?
We released the first song already. I'm releasing it like, as a sort of series of singles rather than the whole package of songs. This day it's
Mhm.
just a new way to do things on the internet because the music industry is so screwed, so turns on its head that so we released the first song. Why Must It Be So was the first track,
Yeah,
and I think it's going to be. I was thinking to myself, it might just be a trilogy, but I think there's going to be a fourth song. So we released the first one November, just before the election, and when we finished talking today, I am about two guitar overdubs away from finishing the next track, which
cool.
is going to be, yeah, it's called "Now We Dream,"
Very cool.
and yeah, and I worked on it quite a bit. All I have to do, I think, like two two tracks of a guitar solo. I'll be happy, and so hopefully that will come out. It's Wednesday this week. If I can finish that on the weekend, that will be released the following week. Hopefully, I'm weeks and weeks late with it for all kinds of other reasons, but it's going to be really really good when you hear
Now, with Why Must It Be So? That one I listened to on YouTube.
it.
Is
Hmm.
it gonna be on? Is it on iTunes and Spotify as well?
It's a bit of a confusion about where I am and where I aren't on the streaming stuff. I know we're on some of that. We will definitely put all of our stuff on our YouTube channel. This next track will come out on YouTube, so you can find it there for sure. And I know we're on elsewhere stuff as well, but I'm not super clear on that. I have to.
Okay.
Yeah, and the best thing to do is if you go to the website, the real davidsancious.com. That should be pretty clear about where else we can be found.
So for our listeners, in the show notes, I'm gonna have a link to the YouTube for you as well. Um, also a website. What else would be the best things for me to link our listeners to you so they can find your stuff?
The very best place is the website directly, therealdavidsancious.com. And that's got all my records, stuff I did with other people, all my independent records. It'll have all the tour information, examples of Open Secret Project, and versions of what's coming up for the Ghost of Jim Crow.
Well, like I said, I look forward to hearing more of the music that comes out. Like I said, I hope our listeners check the notes, get connected. Mr. Sanchez, been absolutely honest to be with you again. Talking music
Pleasure,
with
man.
you is like talking to a professor. I appreciate
Oh,
it.
that's my pleasure, Jeff. Always, man. Great to
Have a
see you.
very good night, sir.
All right, you too, man. Bye bye.